Sean, you have to convince him not to go.
I would say YouTube has done more for my education than college has ever done.
We were pretty much done.
She's letting me know what's up.
Money's good, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
What can I not do? Hey guys, today we have a treat. I have a friend of mine, Matt Barnes, this guy here. He is 34 years old, and we actually have some history together, so that's pretty cool. But he's got a military background, and he's a super successful guy in his own right. And I always knew from a young age that he would be a success, but he's got a cool story. And I thought, let's bring him on, have a conversation, and we can just kind of chat through that, because I'm sure there'll be nuggets that everybody can grasp onto that will be exciting. So lean in, here we go. We're gonna chat with my good friend, Matt Barnes. So 34 years old, humble, driven, the kind of guy who always seems to rise in leadership. It's an amazing thing, but it's like no matter what comes your way, and maybe this is just on the outside, you seem to conquer something. And I'm like, what the heck? You make it look easy. But in 2023, he took everything he learned to launch a side hustle in recruiting and sales, which is pretty cool. So in the military, he's got a military history, and now he's launching a side hustle as well that's doing really well from what we spoke of last. And now he's come full circle back to the Missouri National Guard, right where his journey began. So you've got a lot of stuff going on that's really interesting, and I'm excited to kind of hear a little bit more about your story. So why don't you tell everybody who you are, and let's hear how that started. I think you were about 18, if I remember, right? What's that look like?
Yeah, so I was a senior in high school when I joined the military. Remember sitting down with you and you're like, hey, are you sure you want to do this? And really,
wait a minute.
My mom made you sit me down. Yep. But looked at a couple different opportunities there and really dove into the National Guard because I thought it would help me grow on the civilian side, but also have kind of a bunch of perks on the military side as well. So joined in 2010, did that for a while, deployed kind of right away, went overseas from 2011 to 2012. Defining year for me, for sure, just learning the world and what's outside of Missouri. Came back, was EMT for a little while in the city. Crazy stories there, had a lot of fun, but wanted to grow a little bit more, so I became a recruiter in 2016, and my career kind of took off from there.
Yeah. So that's being a bit humble. Your career took off. You have a ranking that's really grown in the recruiting side. Share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've done really well. We have what's called the Directors 54, so it's the top 54 recruiters in the whole country. It's a club that you're part of every year that goes. And so in 2018, I got that honor to becoming the number one for Missouri, and my numbers was number 2 overall in the whole nation, and
Wow.
did really, really well. Yeah, I got to go to DC, meet a bunch of people with that, compete.
Wait a minute, DC. Mm-hmm. I heard it was like the DOD. Is that right?
What do you mean?
Department of Defense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you got an invitation to go to the department. That's a little bit bigger than the DC. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. I remember that time, and I was like, wow, that's cool. But that was a testament to your steps towards success. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I did well, and so that's my experience took me to. I worked the whole COVID year, so it's kind of a crazy year. But yeah, I worked at the National Guard Bureau, which is there with the Pentagon and everything like that, and got to help shape the national strategic level of recruiting a little bit and make sure that we were on track and doing well for the future. And that took me to Arkansas, where I taught recruiting, dove deep into like sales methodologies and everything like that. And that's where I was like, hey, you know what? I could take all of this and do something on my own. And I've always wanted to do something on my own. Always had like a side hustle kick to me, and knew that I wanted to grow a business or something like that. And finally just did it, and it's took off, and it's done really well.
So I got to tell a funny story. So back at 18, when you said, yeah, I had a conversation with you. So I was your youth pastor for a bit, and we got in a lot of trouble together. Yeah. Mostly your fault, not
probably,
mine. Yeah, but we did have some good times together, and there was a good bond from that time that has enabled us to always be friends.
Absolutely.
And you to be, close to my heart, no matter where you are in the world.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, but your mom came to me and she's like, Sean, you have to convince him not to go. He just joined the military. He can't go. You have to convince him. I'm like, oh, well, no big task there. How do I do that? So that conversation was actually your mom asking me, because she was scared and worried and like, oh my gosh, my baby is getting ready to, ship off in the military. And your conversation to me, out of honoring your mom, I'm like, okay, well, I'll talk to him, but I can't convince a guy. So it wasn't to convince you, it was just to question you and kind of make sure that you had thought things through. And you had all the details, in line. You knew exactly what it looked like. You were methodical in how you went down that path. So I felt bad because at the end of the day, I'm like, dude, it sounds like you've done your research. And I remember you telling me, you said, this team has never been deployed. It's never been deployed. And I'm like, oh gosh, well, that seems to me like they're due for deployment. Yeah. And so you swore, and I think you expected that it just wasn't going to happen. And then all of a sudden I hear, hey, I'm being deployed. Yeah. Holy crap. So that was an interesting time.
Yeah, so I joined it was a homeland response team, essentially. So their whole mission was to be here to take care of any incidences here. And my very first meeting going to my unit, we got a deployment notice. Man. So the unit that's never been deployed in its entire history, month 1 of me being there, we got our deployment notice. So, which I was freaking out about, but no, it was great. I'm glad I did it.
Yeah, I saw you grow through that time. We had some conversations while you were deployed, and I could hear the tone of your voice because we knew each other well, and just could hear you processing. You may not have understood it, but obviously being like a year or two older than you, I could tell by the tone of your voice and the conversation you were processing through that. But I knew it to be a good thing for you as well, and you saw some crazy stuff while you were deployed. I remember what you were doing exactly. I won't say because I don't know if that's sensitive information or not. But anyway, so yeah, that was cool to watch you. But I have to ask, and our audience is probably curious, why the National Guard? What drew you there?
Yeah, so I liked what the National Guard was. They were all about helping community and helping as a nation overseas and everything like that. But also that community. I remember right before I joined, I don't know if you recall, like Joplin got hit with a really bad tornado. Yeah. And I saw it was actually the National Guard that went and responded to that. And I've always had like a service attitude. That's why I got into emergency medicine as well. And so I like the opportunity that the National Guard would be able to help here and maybe overseas, and the benefits too on like, hey, I could go to college, but I can still have the National Guard as a part-time thing back then, and focus on college or my career at that time. But now it's shifted. Now I've been 11 years active duty for the National Guard. So I changed throughout a little bit, but initially just that part-time and wanting to grow on both sides is why I went National Guard.
So, and as we mentioned, you've kind of climbed the ranks throughout there into leadership roles. What made you earn your leadership the hard way? Was there any moments that were just like, wow, that was hard, but it was a big thing that really taught you and showed you something about leadership?
There wasn't. I don't think there was one like defining moment. I'm stubborn, as you know, so I think really? I grew into leadership by kind of, and it's kind of bad, as military, you're not supposed to question your leaders and stuff like that. But
now, wait a minute. Now, anybody who knows you watching this podcast knows you question everything and you argue everything. So let's just carry from there. That had to be tough, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And the military's taught me when and when not to do that. And I've had a lot of good bosses that welcome that. I've had some that haven't, but I think I grew the most from, it's weird to say, but bad leaders. I've had some really bad leaders, and I realized how they made me feel, how they made the team feel, and I made it a point to work extra hard to either replace them or just never be like that. So I've taken a lot from the worst of the leadership and grown that way, I think. So some of my hardest times in my military career is probably what's made me successful.
I love that. So I coach business owners, entrepreneurs, and people that, in that lifestyle. And I tell them oftentimes, leadership is something that just because you own the company doesn't make you a leader. leadership is really about pouring into the people that you're leading. And you become a support role, really, but it's hard to learn that because I think when you first move into leadership, you think, I'm the guy, I'm the guy. Now I get to tell people what to do and it makes my job easier, but it really becomes a point when you're really successful in growing your team and pouring into them, it means that you're there to support them and you just make yourself available for what they need to give them the greatest opportunity to grow. And that's something that you learn along the way, typically, not up front.
Yeah, absolutely. Doesn't mean you're the boss.
Right.
Not necessarily. Like, everybody's a leader in its own way. So yeah, absolutely.
So what was your greatest setback?
I don't know per se like a particular setback, but I know like when I got my deployment notice, that felt like a huge life setback. I was like, wait a second, I was about to go to college. I had a girlfriend at the time that I was happy with, and just my life was in a good spot. And then I totally, flipped upside down on like, hey, no, actually, you're going to go spend the next year in the Middle East. But, I grew from that. I then went and became an EMT. I had some setbacks with that, and I really enjoyed that, but realized that wasn't paying the bills and stuff like that, and that's when I grew. But I don't necessarily know a particular setback. I've learned from a lot of opportunities, investing wise, having bad investments. I got into the options market, thought I was a genius there.
Oh boy.
That teaches you how to be humble real quick.
Right.
So I've had some financial setbacks on that, but again, I've learned from it. So I don't know in one particular, but kind of a journey of them, I guess.
Yes, there's a lot of failures along the way.
Yeah.
But we were talking offline and how, people see the podcast or different personas from either social media or just whatever, is exposed to online and those things. And they think, wow, life is just easy for that person. And they think, well, you never really had many setbacks or failures. For me, I'm the same way. I never really had like, oh, this was a massive failure and it derailed my life and everything else. And then all of a sudden I came back and life was great. It was a collection of constant failures, little ones.
Yeah.
Not the big ones, and those are the stepping stones that help you kind of, as long as you recognize them, grow from them, and you don't let them keep you down, you end up progressing and breaking through new barriers time and time again. But, it's easy to see through the lens of success and lose the picture of all the failures that created the success.
Absolutely.
Makes sense?
Yeah. So, it happens daily for sure, but that's a learning thing.
Yeah, it's all the time. What about, so I know there can be a lot of stress, especially in deployments and in military and some of the role that we were talking about before and how you have to kind of manage your team who are recruits and stuff. And that could be challenging at best to keep up with how you try to keep them all mentally healthy, physically healthy, engaged, and all those things. How do you manage the stress of that?
If you figure it out, let me know.
Good answer.
Yeah. So I've always chased, my wife always talks about this, like, when are you going to have a non-stressful job? So I've definitely always been in the stress. And I think like I've learned so much of taking me time, I think is one of the biggest things. Learning like your habits that like, hey, you can set up different habits to really manage this and not put yourself in more stressful situations. And then being able to unplug too is a huge thing. Like, hey, I need to be able to just focus on my family right now, or have a date night and have, even if it's not out of the house, but actually watch a movie with the wife and not, I'm always on my phone and stuff like that. Being able to separate that, I think, has definitely helped with stress. Trying to be physically fit is a huge one, going on a run, and nobody's mad when you're on a run, right? You might start mad, but
that's interesting. I've never thought about you can't stay angry when you're running.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
So being able to clear your hair like that, clear the air like that and stuff like that. But trying to just take care of me, I think, is a big one. And then try to separate just the family for a minute, focus on this. Deep work is what I try to do a lot, to just focus in on one thing. And then when I'm with my family, try to be with my family.
That's good. What's me time look like?
Yeah. So for me, it's different. I love sports, so it might be just literally watching a game and enjoying. Last night I watched the World Series, just the whole family went to sleep and being able to just enjoy a quiet game. Or it's just reading a book or surfing the web on something that I like, or just hanging out with friends. That's a huge one that as a kid and growing up, you're always with friends, right? Yeah. And stuff like that. So as an adult, it's a unique thing to like, hey, let's actually go and and have dinner and hang out without kids and be able to just have an adult conversation.
Yeah, it's nice sometimes.
Yeah.
And even more so for moms if they're the ones who are typically, so I know like in our marriages, you and I think your wife just got certified, right?
Yeah, so she just graduated as her master's in social work. So she's working on getting a Missouri license, but yeah.
That's awesome. So like, my situation where Corey's always taking care of the home primarily. That was our agreement. She's like, go do what you have to do. And I'm like, great. So I had the freedom to do that. But it's not like, being with the kids and taking care of the home and the kids is not a job. It's a job, and it has its toll too. So I would come home, all spent and feel like it was all about me.
Yeah.
And I would forget about her, and that she spent too, and she really needs like some adult time with some adult humans instead of all the little ones that run around saying, mommy, 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 that type of thing. So you lose focus sometimes, and I did as well. Has that had any impact on your marriage and what you've learned at this point on how to navigate that better?
Yeah, that's something, I still got little ones, so we're going through currently, and that's a big reason on why we wanted to come back home. My wife will talk about, she's probably spent years without having an adult conversation. And it's different too, like we moved so much with the military, and the military is such a unique aspect for you. The guys in it move so much, and as soon as you get somewhere, it's an instant bond with your team almost, because they're in the same situation, they're moving and stuff like that. So like I have a family anywhere I go. She didn't, and so being able to try to, all right, hey, you go do you go have you time. And that's a big reason why we came back to Missouri. And it's a huge difference on now that she goes out with her girlfriends and they have a book club that they're always meeting. And I don't even think they talk about books, but that's what they say,
Just an excuse to get out of the house.
Exactly. So, and being able to kick her out of the house and go hang out, it's huge. She's got a bunch of girlfriends up here that she's reconnected with, and having that her time is probably even more important than me time, because then she can focus on taking care of her work and stuff like that as well, taking care of the family and all that.
Yeah, so most people who've had many conversations know that I teach the 5 pillars. The 5 pillars are faith, fitness, family, finance, and friends. And the friends are super important, but obviously there's some things that have to take priority over that. But those are the 5 that I truly believe are what lead to success. Now, a lot of times people will argue, and I think we've had this conversation before, over what fitness second over your family? And I'm like, yeah, because if you don't, and fitness is not just building, working out, lifting weights, building muscle. It's mental fitness.
Oh, yeah.
Your mindset, keeping your mind clear and healthy, reducing the stress. So it's all the above. And it changes how we show up for our spouses, for our kids, for our parents, our family, or whoever's in your inner circle. It changes how you show up. So I think it's super important. But that friends one down there on the bottom, it's also equally important. I wish you could condense those into like 3, but it really is like the only thing every time I study it, it's those 5 that are most important, because man, once you get into the grind in the normal daily life, you just don't spend the time with friends that you used to. And you forget how recharging that can be to, leave the kids with a sitter or whatever else, take your wife, get out and spend some time with a friend. And sometimes just without your spouse, independently, like what you're talking about, that you come home and it just makes you appreciate your spouse a little bit more. And there's like this release that happens that just strengthens the marriage, I believe. And I also, on that same note, I always teach because, I've learned in my path that I did a lot of things wrong, and through chasing money and the things that I thought were going to fill the void, that, by the way, never fill the void still stays, because, a dollar bill just doesn't size up right in that hole. It's more about time, relationship, and your loved ones. Money's good, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
You can have a lot of fun with some extra money.
Yeah.
All good things, but it's not the number one thing. Otherwise, like in my case, I left a trail of carnage behind, and our marriage really struggled because I thought she had it, and she was good, and I just wasn't there much because, I ate, drank, and slept my business, which, everybody says you have to do to succeed. Yeah. But it leaves a trail of carnage behind. And so then I came to a spot where we had this fork in the road, and we were pretty much done. And I'm like, I have a house picked out for you, and I'm going to buy that house, and see ya. Done with this, we're out of here. Let's go do our own thing. And I had this epiphany, thankfully, because we'll be 31 years in January. And I feel like it was, I'm a person of faith, you know that. And I feel like it was God answering prayer and saying, look, you idiot, you've got 30 years in, well, it wasn't 30 years at the time, X amount of years and a lot of years in. And are you sure you want to let all this go by the wayside? Because good chance you may find somebody else. And then you're starting over, all that training, all those years, and you're starting over when it impacts everybody. And so I had a hard lesson to realize it wasn't just about me, it was about everybody. So what I learned was you can be very successful and have a strong, flourishing marriage. You just need to understand and have, a conversation with your spouse. What does that look like? What are you willing to let me go do and me let you go do in our own spaces to make this happen, but not with so much of a gap that it creates disconnect between us? And how do we make sure that doesn't happen? Had I done that, I would have avoided some of the challenges along the way, and we wouldn't have had to have gone through that rough spot. So I teach people that all the time. Look, there's another way. I did it the wrong way. So that's awesome that you recognize it early in your marriage, so you can define that.
She's beating that into me. She's letting me know what's up. So
yeah, well, that's good.
I give my wife all the credit on that one. I would probably be oblivious to all of it if she didn't tell me more. Yeah,
I was too. But my wife didn't say much. It just came in, snide comments, orneriness and stuff, and I'm just like, you're ornery today. So that's what it was. But it's cool that you learned that. So when you look at young recruits or entrepreneurs today, what do you think they're missing?
I think a lot of them don't realize that they can do whatever they want to do. They just got to go do it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of them are waiting for this big grand thing to happen, or the right tools or the right money or whatever to happen. But a little bit of stubbornness goes a long way on, like, hey, I'll just go. I don't have the money, I don't have the skills right now, but I'll go learn them and stuff. So I feel like when I have conversations with these young kids on their new careers and going like, hey, you can do whatever. It doesn't matter where you're at right now. You can build to whatever you have. So just lacking the understanding that anything's out there, anything's possible, and setting big goals and just chasing them.
Yeah, that's cool, because so we have actually a segment that I see in some of our marketing reports and our analytics that started 18 years old who watched some of our content. So this speaks to them directly, and I think that's super important and powerful, because I think they don't really believe in themselves.
Yeah.
And they don't really think that they can do anything. And it's hard because, you throw them out into the real world and say, okay, go figure it out. And nobody talks about that stuff at that age. It usually comes later when you've had some failures and you get to a point you're like, gosh, I need to do something different. And you see these through recruiting. I would assume you see a lot of young guys, gals, whatever come in. What do they usually come in at? What age?
Yeah, about 17, 18.
About 18?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a mindset thing. They just haven't figured it out yet. So if they could just understand that the world's a big place and the opportunity is everywhere, and you're capable. You are capable. That's awesome.
I think one of the biggest things you got to learn is that, like, no one's coming to save you. You got to go figure it out,
Yeah.
And
Mommy and daddy aren't coming to save you.
Yeah, absolutely. So just being able to figure it out and go be successful on your own, for sure. And still having a team and understanding that value of that is something I've learned along the way too. That you can't do it all on your own. That people are important in your journey, but just having the grind and grit to be able to go accomplish what you need.
Yeah. So when did you have a mindset shift, or did you have a mindset shift to recognize that and understand that it's really about people that help you propel? I always say the 3 Ps: people, propel, prosperity. Was there a point in time where it just kind of the light went on and you're like, oh wow, this is how success happens?
Yeah, I would say, like, as I've advanced through the ranks in the military, at the beginning it kind of is like self. You're working as a team, but it's important that you accomplish what you have to accomplish. And then as, I guess, missions get bigger and plans get bigger, things that you have to accomplish get bigger. And even on the business side of having my sales and stuff like that, I think probably when I started really taking those bigger leadership roles, I'm like, I can't do this by myself. Because I would, and my biggest failure is going back to that, I guess, as like when I started leading, is I wanted to kind of do all the work and be almost the cool boss for, like, hey, you can go home early. I'll knock out all the work and stuff. And it was killing me because I was staying way too late and doing jobs that other people could be doing, and learning that delegation was like a huge mind shift. And it wasn't that I was getting out of work. It was, hey, I can help you be more successful, which helps me be more successful, which helps all of us be more successful. Yeah. So really learning to not do it on my own, because I was killing myself doing it, and learning that I needed to empower others to do it was really my mind shift, I guess.
That's a huge one, by the way. And I think it's rare that somebody your age recognizes it that early. I wasn't that early, by the way, but I did. And I always tell people my greatest freedom came when I started seeing the people who, on my team, employees or whatever, and I started seeing that, look, if I keep this, nobody can do it as well as me, or this perfectionist attitude, I'm basically limiting them from their greatest potential because I'm not willing to give things over to them. When I started building this last house, the one that we're sitting in right now, I told you the story about how, oh man, it was during COVID, and it was tough, it was hard, and I realized that's actually when I retired. And I had plans to retire shortly after, but I was gone so much because of the challenges of finding the right contractors and everything to do the different trades for the house that I ended up being heavily involved. It was like a giant babysitting job. So it pulled me away from that business, the manufacturing business, to where I was barely there. And what it did was it stretched them to make up the difference of my absence. And it was a big moment where I'm like, wow, they are so much more capable. I was their roadblock.
Yeah.
And so now my whole premise is, what can I not do? What can somebody else do? So they know that now. Yeah. And I claim I retired a couple years ago, and that just means that I still work more than I ever have before, but it's in different things and things that I want to do. And really the freedom came through learning how to truly delegate, but to also be giving them the opportunity and not holding all that to myself, because they could be so much more. I just wasn't giving them the opportunity to. So now they run everything, and when they bring something to my desk, they know I'm going to ask, hey, why can't you do that? And there's some things where they just need my input, but they're capable. So my role now is to stretch them into everything that they can be, because that's what true leadership is. It's not delegating to get it off your plate. It's to give them the opportunity to be all that they can be. And I think that's really where the sweet spot is. And what's created an enormous amount of freedom for me, but for somebody your age to recognize that's earlier, way earlier than me. So good for you, man.
Appreciate it.
That's really cool. Yeah, I enjoy it. That's where freedom really comes from. Yeah. And that's what a lot of our conversations are truly about on this channel, is finding freedom and fulfillment. We talk about money, we talk about things and building business and all that, but it really is not about the money itself. It's what the money provides, and that's freedom and time. That's really the most important element, because man, it's moving fast. You're like 34 years old. You should know now.
Mm-hmm.
Just kidding. Yeah. You got a ways to go. But still, yeah, it's moving fast for you too. And I assume if I asked, you'd probably say, yeah, every year it goes a little faster.
It does. Yeah. It's crazy.
It is. So if you had like one crazy story or something that you remember as being really funny, interesting, or goofy in any capacity of with us or in the military or whatever else?
Funny story with us is, do you remember the scavenger hunt we did?
Yeah.
And how somehow there's a picture of me in a bra out there from JC.
You sure that was the scavenger hunt?
Yeah. So, but no, I was just looking at that the other day. We had to do a scavenger hunt, and it was all about getting strangers to help you do random craziest things. Yeah. And actually, such a good idea to teach teenagers anyway to ask for help and all that stuff. So it was a fun aspect. But for some reason, I ended up having to wear women's clothes in a JCPenney's. I don't know how we even got on that. Yeah, so that was, I just, that picture for some reason always pops up, and it was a good time. It's fun.
You just put that back in my head.
Yeah.
That's a good picture.
I remember we had to do like a human pyramid in the middle of the mall.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
All kinds of craziness.
We tried to come up with, so that was when we were in the youth group and stuff years back, and we tried to come up with whatever could be most embarrassing. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of them, so that was good. But what was really cool that I always enjoyed about you is you would do it and laugh about it, even though you looked foolish or whatever else, which is one of the greatest attributes a person can have, is not caring what somebody else thinks. It's powerful. right? I believe it's a sign of success and leadership for those who aren't going to cower down because they're embarrassed or they're concerned with what somebody else may say, think, or judge, that type of thing. So that's really cool. So you see it as the bra on top of your clothes where, people shopping are like, what in the world's going on? But I see it as it was a sign of a good attribute that would help this guy, Matt Barnes, be successful. And you have.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I look back at stuff like that. I'm like, hey, I need to be more. Who cares? So I remember in high school being way braver on like being a fool out there.
You were good at being a fool, by the way.
Yeah, I still am, I guess, but not as purposeful now. But that is a huge thing of you get one life, you got to go live it, and might as well have fun. And who cares who's looking? Absolutely.
At the end of the day, nobody really cares.
Yeah.
So you might as well have a little entertainment and laugh a little bit. It's good for the soul. That's awesome. Yeah. So let's leave our viewers with one thing. If you were to say, give some advice based on what you've learned or what you know on those who may be feeling stuck or like they can't seem to break through or like they don't see opportunity or whatever that may be, is there any truth or advice that you would give? Because, you've been exposed to a lot of young people through recruiting, I would assume over time, that you've seen a lot of different personality types and a lot of the challenges they go through and everything else. What's one truth that you think they're missing that would be important to help them kind of push forward?
Yeah, just keep going. Really, like you're always going to have struggles, and it's the ones that quit that never amount to anything. And so you just keep going and just keep pulling through whatever. And getting a mentor is a huge thing. The military is really starting to finally adapt that on making sure that you go have mentors, and that's huge. I've always looked at you as a mentor from growing up, so I've always had this mentorship is important. But there's something out there, and what's cool is if you don't have a mentor, find one on YouTube. There's so many different avenues for that now.
Yeah, great point.
And so just go learn, be curious about life, go learn, and keep going no matter what struggles you're going through. There's YouTube Academy is the greatest thing I would say YouTube has done more for my education than college has ever done.
It's a different world.
Yeah, and there's just anything you ever want is out there. So go learn, be curious, and just keep grinding.
Yeah, I love that. So I share that with people all the time as well. A lot of times people have the mindset they think to get a mentor you got to spend 6 figures for the good guys and everything else, and I'm like, no dude, you can buy one for $12 in a book, in an Audible or something like that, or like you said, hop on YouTube. Some of the greatest moments of growth, which was a strong decade that I can pinpoint at a certain time in my life, it didn't come because Sean was just special. It came because I stood on the shoulders of those who came before us, or the conversations left behind. And it was the things that...
See what you did there.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good, right? You like that? You just called it out, man. You should have left it alone. It was really smooth.
I can't let you have that one.
It was the books. It was, the conversations with different people. It was all the drive time where, and I'm not saying music is bad. I love, music. Who doesn't? But I started filling my mind with content every time I was driving, and it was often YouTube.
Yeah.
A good person who, is in the sector I'm in, or something that was going down a path of, because I study neurology, epigenetics, a lot of weird stuff, and people are like, what? Psychology, a lot of that stuff, business, money, finance, investing. So lock onto something, stay on that trail for a little bit, and you'll be amazed at how you level up, and it just kind of clears the lens a little bit more to where you just got a much bigger spectrum on life. And whenever you do that, it just really opens up opportunity, because it's always there. The difference is you don't recognize it. You don't recognize it until somebody says something or sparks a thought inside of you through these avenues like YouTube or whatever it is that really create the growth. So I attribute, whatever it is that I've become at this point to that exact same thing. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I barely listen to music anymore.
I know. It's a sign. Is it a sign that you're getting old, or what's it?
Probably. I don't know. I don't know. But there's always something out there to learn.
There is. I love that, man. Bro, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I enjoyed it. Guys, listen. You should really rewatch it if you need to, because there's a lot of nuggets in there that, this guy's humble. He's really a climber, and I've watched him just hit the next rail of each ladder coming up. And I know it's far from done for you. And I believe real estate is where he's pushing in a little bit deeper next. Already in that a little bit,
Yeah.
but going a little bit deeper. So I'm excited over the next few years just to kind of see where you go. But thanks for taking the time to inspire others, our listeners, and just share your journey, especially for some of the younger folks, which you have a lot of connection with through the recruiting. And really, to sum it all up, you can do whatever you want to do. It's just a matter of if you're willing to take the action to do it and pay the price. Everybody can be successful in a massive way if you're willing to pay the price and step in. It's that simple.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll see you next time.